Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Very Connected podcast support group. And tonight we're being joined by my wonderful friend, Rodolfo. Hello, Rodolfo.
Hello, how are you, Brenda?
Doing great. Wonderful as always. And if you guys are returning, you have met Rodolfo before because I have lost track of how many events that we've actually done together now. It's been quite a few. Rodolfo is always so willing to join in and is definitely here for this community in so many ways. So, thank you. And I'm going to kind of do a brief introduction of you and then kind of turn the table over to you to do more thorough. So, tonight we're going to be talking about love and relationships in the weight loss surgery journey. And I heard Rodolfo talk on this topic briefly last year at the Bariatric Society event. And it got intense in that conversation. I feel like during his speaker event, people were sharing so much. And I love that. It's during these journeys that we have as our bodies change, our mindsets change, our relationships change, they impact how we connect with others and how it affects everything, how it affects not only our relationship with the person that we have, but all of those relationships surrounding that, because it's a ripple effect. And Rodolfo's going to be talking about changes that happen, sexual well-being. He's going to talk about how fears and anxiety may affect our relationships, some keys to creating healthy relationships, and an interactive model. And while Rodolfo's going to be introducing himself a little further, I also want to say hello to everybody out there. I want to welcome you all with open hands. And I want to tell you, let us know where you're from, and if you're new to if you want to share anything about your bariatric surgery journey, please feel free to do that too as well. Okay, Rodolfo.
Yeah, I would like to confirm before starting, Brenda, if they can hear me and watch me properly. So please let us know by the chat if you are listening to us and if the reception is working. I guess it is because some people actually are sharing about their location. Okay, thank you, Christine. Awesome, great. Oh, and they are introducing themselves. Excellent. Thanks for being here. So, Brenda, would you like me to start with the workshop?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So before starting, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Rodolfo Alvarez. I'm an engineer. Also, I'm a mindset coach. I'm from Chile and I moved to the US 2 years ago. I'm currently living in Miami, Florida. And since the year 2015, I've been supporting individuals and organizations doing work related to healthy habits, healthy eating habits, weight loss. And actually, the year 2015, I designed a program called Balance, which focus was to incorporate healthy eating habits and manage the emotions that were making people turn to food. And after working with some of my clients for 2 years, I would say, I started noticing some patterns. Some of the anxieties and stress that they were experiencing was related to relationships. So when they struggled in their relationships, and for example, they were not able to enjoy their life with their partners, and they were having conflict, etc., food was a coping mechanism to manage those emotions. So I noticed in my clients that there was a need related to working on their relationships and also working on their sex life. And that's why I designed a program related to relationships and sex life. I loved that world, and that's why I got a master's in sexology. I wrote a book related to sex life and sexual well-being. I was host of a radio show in Chile, in my country. And what I would like to do today is to talk about love and relationships in the weight loss surgery. And that's why I'm here. So I hope we have a great workshop. I would like to provide you with clarity. So please, if you have questions or comments, feel free to ask by the chat. So are we ready to start diving into the contents?
100%.
Okay, I will share my screen. Okay, give me 1 second because I haven't shared it yet. Perfect. So I would like to know if you can watch my screen actually.
I'm seeing it, Rodolfo, and
Awesome.
I see somebody saying yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Brenda. So let's begin understanding what happens when a person goes through bariatric surgery or a bariatric surgery. Bariatric surgery is a life-changing process, which means that your body will experience changes, your mindset will experience changes, your habits will change. Also, I feel that in this process, the person will have to start relating with his, her, themselves in a new way. You will have to start learning about your needs, what do you want for your life, and maybe start questioning things that in the past you didn't. And for me, the explanation for that phenomenon is that maybe for a long period of time, food was there and had a function, which was maybe to manage emotions and disconnect from needs or from your needs. And after having surgery, then food cannot have that function anymore because the capacity of your stomach will be reduced. So you will need to start connecting with your needs in a new way. Okay. And it's likely that in that process or throughout that process, you start questioning if what you have in your life is what you want. And that question is a question that you can ask yourself in terms of your relationships. That could be friendships, for example, or maybe the relationship with your partner. I have seen clients that, for example, go through surgery and open up to the possibility to date with people, meet new people. Also, I know others that get divorced. I know some of them that start questioning their friendships and they notice that the values that they have are not aligned with their friends. Others start noticing that their work, their job is something that they are not passionate about it and they would like to do something new. So to me, the bariatric journey is a journey in which the person will have to start connecting with who they are and with their identity, right? And what I have seen is that sometimes people don't have the tools to manage that transition. It might feel sometimes scary. They don't know how to deal with these new relationships. Sometimes they don't know how to manage the fears that might emerge. So basically what I wanted to explore today is what happens in terms of the sex life, what happens in terms of sexuality, and also what happens in terms of relationships, and provide you with tools to manage the transition processes, okay? So the invitation to begin this workshop is to start asking yourself, like, where you are today, where you are in terms of your relationships, what have you noticed that have changed? What would you like to create? Are you happy in terms of your romantic relationship with your partner? If you have a relationship, are you happy with the friendships that you have, etc.? And also, one of the things that I have noticed that I would like to share is that people need to set boundaries at some point. I have noticed the pattern of, for example, people pleaser or people pleasing or being caregivers. And due to the surgery, the person needs to start taking care of their own needs and put themselves first. So there's a process also of challenging these limiting patterns and also overcoming them to put their needs in the first place. And that's how they accomplish results that are sustainable in the long run. So I would like to know if you're following me, please let me know by the chat. Christine says yes, excellent. Gradine says yes too, Lisa too, Donna, Mikal, awesome. Thanks for being here tonight with us. So I'm going to divide the workshop in two sections, I would like to say. One that will be related to sexual well-being, and the second one that will be related to relationships in general, okay? And I would like to start with my favorite section, which is the section of sexual well-being. And in order to do that, I would like to introduce some concepts. The first concept that I would like to introduce is the concept of sex drive, okay? So when we are talking about sex drive, we're talking about motivation. Actually, when we're talking about the concept of drive, we're talking about motivation. And I would like to explain how our motivation works. We as humans seek for experiences. What do I mean with this? I would like you to think about a human from the past that was walking by nature, and then this human saw an apple that was hanging on a tree. So it's likely that by seeing this apple, this human maybe wanted to pick the apple, get close, and start eating. Okay. And that happened because this human was motivated to have the experience of eating the apple. The same happened to us, for example, in the present, if we go to the shopping. Maybe we're walking outside of a store, then we see a specific type of clothes that we love, and then we would like to buy something. The same could happen if we would like to move out to a new home and we start searching for homes. We watch pictures of a new house, and then we're like, okay, I would like to visit that home with a realtor or a real estate agent. And the same could happen with a car. You're walking by the street, then you see the car that you love, and then you're like, I would like to get that car. So we as humans are constantly seeking for experiences or searching for experiences. So when we're talking about drive, we're talking about the motivation that we are experiencing for certain type of experiences. When we talk about sex drive, we're talking about the motivation for having sexual experiences. And what is interesting to me doing this work with people is that we all search for different experiences in terms of sex. For some people, sex is related to connection. For others, it's related to intimacy. For others, could be related to physical pleasure. For others, it's a way to relax. For others, it's a way to explore, to discover, to have fun. So the interesting thing is that we all search for different things. And in terms of the bariatric surgery, what I have noticed is that maybe in the past, before the surgery, you were searching for a specific type of experiences that today could be different. So that's one of the things that I would like to share with you, that the sex drive is something that is organic, is constantly changing. And maybe today you don't need the same things, or you don't want necessarily the same experiences that you wanted in the past. That might happen to you. Okay. And also, what I've seen in the work with my clients is that maybe they had an expectation about their sex lives before surgery, and what they are searching for or having after surgery is not meeting that expectation. So maybe you thought that your desire was low, and maybe after surgery it was going to increase, and maybe it hasn't increased. What I would like to tell you is that we as humans all have different desires. We desire different things. Our levels of desires are different. We're complex. So my invitation, first of all, is to connect with the experiences that you are searching and needing today. And then just embracing the desire that you have, or the level of desire that you have today. Now, one of the things that I have noticed in my clients is that sometimes their sex drive is affected by the vision that they have about sex. What do I mean with this? For example, if your perception is that sex is an obligation, it's likely that your desire will be low. If you perceive sex as something uncomfortable, as an experience in which you will show your body and you don't like to do that and you don't feel good doing that, then it's likely that your sex drive will be low. Or maybe for you, sex is a waste of time because you don't enjoy it. If that's the case, then your sex drive is going to be low. So one of the things that you can start asking yourself today is, how is your vision about sex? And maybe this vision is filtered by previous experiences. And maybe that's affecting your sex drive. So I think that I have shared a lot of interesting distinctions, and I would like to know by the chat if you're following me. And Brenda, I would like to know if there's something that you would like to add or comment based on what I have said.
I just unmuted myself. I don't really know that I have a lot more to say. I feel like you're covering everything really well. And Very interesting because it does, it all makes sense, you know, how you feel about yourself and what you want your experiences to be, because life is all about experiences for sure. So just following, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Brenda, for that. I can read the chat and also see that people are following, which I love. Um, for me, one of the things about this workshop is that it's a lot of reflection. Uh, it's a lot of exploring who we are. And when I say who we are, I'm talking about where you are today. Because if you had surgery, then you're in a process of transition. And given that, again, your body, your mindset, and different aspects of your life will change. So basically, this class is an invitation to explore where are you today in terms of your sex drive, or where are you today in terms of your sexuality, and also the experiences that you would like to create in your life. And there are not right or wrong answers here. And that's one of the things that I learned in terms of sexology, that we're all different. We all have different attributes, characteristics. So maybe today my sex drive is not as high as I expected, but also I enjoy it and I connect. So there's nothing wrong with that, you know? What I've seen is that sometimes we judge ourselves and we would like to have a specific type of body or maybe a specific type of sex drive. And actually, there's no correct way of being in terms of our sexuality. We're all different, okay? And that's one of the things that I wanted to discuss or bring up today. Now, in terms of the sex drive, for the sex drive to exist and this motivation to exist, there needs to be a distance between the desiring subject and the object of desire. So, for example, imagine that you're in a relationship, okay, with someone. So, for the desire to exist, there needs to be a distance, and you need to be able to appreciate this person. If the person is far away and then you are not able to connect or appreciate the person, it's likely that the desire will be low. On the other hand, if you are all day with the person and you feel that you know this person and there's nothing new, the distance will not exist and the desire will not exist neither, because there's not going to be novelty. You will perceive that this other person will not provide you with any experience. Like, you have everything, you have the person. So there's nothing new that you can create. And with that, the desire can decrease. So I'm sharing this picture because actually this desire exists when we can appreciate, but then we lost things. It's kind of like a flowing state in which there's something that we want that we don't have, and we have to search for that experience. And then we have that, but then we lose it. So that's why we're interested again. That's how the desire keeps alive in long run relationships. And this can be a challenge for long run relationships, because sometimes when we live with someone, when we're all day together, when we feel that we know the other person, then the desire decreases. And if not managed, right, it can lower to zero. So this is one of the challenges in long run relationships, keeping this desire alive. And sometimes people feel or think that this is something that happens organically. Like, the desire by itself should like keep redesigning itself, right? Like, it's something that should work itself like by its own. But actually, no. Like, we need to work on our desire. We need to take care of our desire. We need to ask ourselves, what are the experiences that I would like to create today? And also invest on it, which is something that sometimes we don't do because we think that this is spontaneous. No, it's not spontaneous. We can work on our desires, okay? So there's a comment on the chat which says the following: weight can affect your self-confidence. And after surgery, I felt more open to new experiences in all aspects of life. I think that the person that shared that is pointing to something really valuable, which is the following. If, for example, I have a lack of self-confidence, and then maybe when I have sex with someone, I feel uncomfortable, it's likely that maybe I will experience stress and anxiety. And then if we have that perception of ourselves, then it's likely that I will not want to create those experiences. If I see sex as an activity in which I will experience anxiety, stress, and I'm not going to feel comfortable, then it's likely that my sex drive is going to decrease. On the other hand, if I perceive it as an experience in which I can be free, I can trust in my body, trust in myself, I feel comfortable, then it's likely that I will be motivated to have sexual experiences, right? So there's a connection there. Now, Donna is asking a question, which is how? Okay, so to work on our sex drive, the first thing that we need to do is to ask ourselves, what are the experiences that we're searching for in sex? Which is a question that not all the people ask themselves all the time. I don't know if we explore that as humans. Like, I think that we just live and sometimes we feel attraction and that's it. But like, I think that we need to pause and invest time in thinking about ourselves and what are the experiences that motivate us, who we feel attracted to, and why. Because when we're attracted to someone, that person is making us feel in a specific way, which is related to some experiences that maybe we're wanting or craving, right? And actually, what I would like to do is to share with you a list of some of the experiences that people search for in sex. So, for example, connection, intimacy, physical pleasure, relaxation, disconnect from the routine, explore new sources of pleasure, novelty, dominance, control others, submission, play, or others. These are just some examples, and I wanted to share them with you because I would like you to start exploring, like, what I'm searching for in sex today. What do I want to create in my sex life? And this is a good beginning, because then after you're clear of that, then what you can do is start creating those experiences, creating a strategy to attract those experiences to your life. But if you're not aware of that, then how do you start? It's not just a matter of like, oh, having sex. No, it's not just that. You need to understand like what are the things that you value about sex in order to be motivated to have sex. Does that make sense? I would like to know. Let me know by the chat. Thank you, Sharon. Okay, so that's a good beginning. Understanding what are the experiences that we are searching for. And there's a state that I always define as being in the present moment and maximizing pleasure. That's how I define it. And I call this state flow. What I mean when I say flow is like, okay, I'm in the sexual experience with a person or people that I want to be here, and then I'm just going to enjoy. And for some people, flowing is something that is hard. Why? Because in that moment, when they are with others or with themselves, actually being connected, some emotions or emotional blocks might emerge. I would like to say some or share some of the blocks that my clients have shared with me. But the most common are, for example, not liking your body, wanting your body to react in a specific way that is not reacting, feeling, for example, that you don't fit in, that you are different, that you don't meet the standards of what is desirable, for example, fear of rejection, of abandonment, fear of the other person not liking who you are, right? Wanting to have a specific performance. So those are some of the fears that sometimes emerge when people are having sex, and that doesn't allow them to flow. So what's flow again? Flow is just being in the present, connected to our bodies, connected to the other person, and then being able to enjoy. That's the state of flow, which again, sometimes is hard to get because some fears emerge and then those fears take over. So there was a question by the chat which says the following: how do you help your very uncomfortable partner feel some comfortable with having sex or being intimate? So to answer that question, I would like to say that what I have noticed that works a lot is to first connect with the body. Sometimes when we experience these fears, like, I don't know, like fear of rejection or not doing things well, and we feel uncomfortable, a good way to start enjoying and flowing is to connect to our bodies. And when I say be connected to the body, I mean, for example, practicing mindfulness, actually, focusing on the breath and also the touch, like connecting to our senses can help. So, for example, starting with a massage, that could help. And then that massage can escalate to other sexual practices. But at the beginning, just allowing yourself and your partner to be in the present moment and enjoy that massage. And maybe that massage will escalate to something more, or maybe not. But just allowing yourself to experience the pleasure and receive and give, right? Pleasure is something that will help to get outside of the mind. And with that, disconnect from some emotions that might emerge. That's a thing that I have noticed that works a lot. Like typically when we are paralyzed or freeze, it's because our fears are emerging and we're thinking a lot. So in those moments, one of the tools that helps is to focus on the body, like in our senses, our sensations. And that helps a lot to keep flowing. Yeah. Let me know if that tool makes sense. I would like to know. Excellent. Thank you, Brandy. Okay, so we have been talking about sex life. We have been talking about the transition, right, related to the bariatric journey, transitions in terms of our desires to what we're attracted to the experiences that we're searching for. We have talked about some fears that might emerge. And there's a question that I would like to ask, which for me is a question that is revealing, okay? And you will understand in a while why it's revealing. What do people focus on while they have sex? And I would like to hear your thoughts about this. So maybe you can type your answers by the chat. What do people focus on while having sex? And Brenda, we will give them some time to answer, okay?
That's fine. I'm interested in seeing what seeing everybody says.
Okay, so reaching your own climax. Okay, the other person. Okay, now when I get that answer, that response, which is the other person, is interesting because I think that there are like two possible perspectives. One is like I enjoy when I see the other person enjoying and I focus on the pleasure of the other person, which is kind of alternative A. And alternative B is kind of like I focus on the pleasure of others and I disconnect from my own pleasure and I'm just focusing on them and I'm not enjoying the experience. So I think that it's important to distinguish between those two cases, right? The feeling, okay, performing to meet partner's expectations. Okay, so performing, which triggers anxiety and stress, right? How the other person is enjoying it. Okay, but again, you're enjoying seeing the other person enjoying, or because you're neglecting yourself and then you want to the other person to enjoy. Touch, someone says, satisfy me and my partner, intimacy, enjoy the moment. Okay, so if you noticed, some of the answers were related to enjoying, pleasure, being connected, and others are related to some sources of stress and anxiety, actually. Performance, being focused on the body, the other person, etc. So I told you that this question was revealing because on the one hand, we explored the experiences that people search for in sex. Pleasure, physical pleasure, intimacy, connection, relaxation, to explore themselves, etc. So just like powerful experiences. But when we explore in what we focus on, we're focusing on things that are stressful. So why I like to ask this question, because if you are thinking, for example, about your performance or your appearance, or the satisfaction of the other person and you're not enjoying, it's going to be hard for you to have a pleasurable experience. So in order to be able to create experiences in which you flow, then your focus needs to be in the correct place, which is enjoying, or experiences that you enjoy. If you are focusing on performance, and when I say performance, for example, in the case of a man, it's like having a level of erection or the duration, the time that the person takes to get to the orgasm or climb. Like if you're thinking about those indicators, right, it's likely that you will experience anxiety and stress, which oh, that's a word that I get confused with, but which will affect also in your arousal and desire. When we're stressed or when we experience anxiety, it's hard for us actually to enjoy. So again, the focus here should be on the things that we enjoy and how we can connect to that while having sex, okay? So someone is sharing by the chat. The hardest for me is to focus on the moment. The mind starts to wonder about things that aren't sex related. So if that's your case, mindfulness. You need to practice mindfulness, and not just like while having sex, like in general life, because the senses are going to help you to disconnect from the mind and also start practicing being connected to the present moment. And then you can use those tools and techniques while having sex. Yes. So we have a mind that needs to stop thinking for a while. That's what I'm getting, right? And you can get there practicing. So someone says, I get self-conscious, honestly. Husband always says he loves me how I am, but I don't love me how I am, so it's hard. Okay. So thanks for that comment. Actually, thanks for the vulnerability and for opening up. I really appreciate this because this allows us to learn from each other, actually. So there's another comment which says, my problem is I can't focus on myself because I worry if they are enjoying. Okay, so given what I'm reading from the chat, for example, here we have two patterns. One pattern is to being focused on the other person and the other person enjoying. I call that like the caregiver pattern in bed. Okay, that's how I call that. And then the other one is related to a lack of confidence and feeling, for example, that you are not attractive. So one of the things that I have noticed in the work with my clients is that sometimes they have some blockages or blocks, emotional blocks, that affect them in their life in general. And sometimes they carry those blocks to their sex life. What do I mean with this? For example, let's say that in life, I tend to be a caregiver. So I put other people's needs first and I neglect my own needs. It's likely that in bed or when I'm having sex, something similar might happen. And I will focus on the pleasure of the other person and I will neglect my own needs, okay? Let's say, for example, that I have a lack of self-confidence and I don't like my appearance. It's likely that in bed, I will not like my appearance, the appearance of my body. And that limiting pattern and that fear maybe of rejection or of not being liked is going to emerge. Let's say, for example, that I have a fear of abandonment. It could be that when I'm having sex, I'm thinking about what's going to happen after having sex and if the other person is going to stay with me or not. And maybe I struggle with that fear too. Or let's say, for example, that in life, I tend to be a perfectionist. And maybe I carry that pattern to my sex life too. And I try to do things perfectly, having a body that meets a specific standard, maybe reaching the orgasm or climax at a specific in a specific amount of time, etc. If you notice, it could happen that maybe our issues in our sex life are not related necessarily to sex, are related to blocks that we have in our life that we are bringing to our sex life. But actually the people pleaser pattern exists and is there. Maybe the perfectionist pattern exists and is there. The caregiver pattern exists and is there. And yes, it's affecting today your sex life, but actually it doesn't have to do with that. Let me know by the chat if this makes sense and if you're following me. I would like to know. Christine says yes. Excellent. Monique, awesome. Donna, Arthur, Camille, great. Perfect. Is there anything that you would like to add? Please, if you have questions, comments, feel free to add. This class is for you. We are creating this experience for you to learn, explore yourself, and also being able to enjoy more. That's the purpose of this class. So if there's something that you would like me to clarify or you need advice or something, let us know, please, by the chat. So at the beginning, I told you that I was going to divide the class into sections. The first one related to sex life, and the second one related to healthy relationships. So if there are no comments or questions, I'm ready to start with the second section of the workshop. Brenda, is there anything that you would like to add? Maybe the answer is no. Okay, so I'm just checking if there's something.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm just listening. I'll take it all in.
Okay, good, excellent. Okay, so let's begin with our next section, which is related to healthy relationships. But before doing that, I would like to address a comment that I read in the chat, which says the following. My partner is dissatisfied with frequency of sex and I feel pressured and shut down. Advice. Okay, so the first thing is I'm going to kind of like go over the contents that I shared before to explain why you feel pressured and shut down. So given what I'm reading, it seems that for you now, sex life has turned into an obligation. Or not an obligation, but something that you need to do to satisfy your partner. So it's not necessarily about you, okay? It's necessarily about the other person and meeting the standards of the other person. If that's not managed, then it's likely that your sex drive is going to be affected. And that could feel the level of attraction that you have to your partner or to sex life. That's the first thing that I would like to say. Now, in terms of how to manage a mismatch of sex drive, what I would like to say is the following. When we have a partner, typically, we are not necessarily aligned in terms of the things that we want or our levels of motivation to do some things. So for example, let's say that I have a partner and this person enjoys working out 5 days a week and I enjoy just one. So maybe sometimes we will work out together and sometimes we will not work out together. Why I'm sharing this with you? Because the conversation that needs to happen is related to honoring the needs of your partner and also your needs, and then finding a middle ground. It could happen that maybe some days you're not going to be motivated, but the motivation can be created. And in that case, the question is, how could you enjoy more of your sexual experiences? And maybe communicating that to your partner. Because maybe you have less sex drive because you're not getting what you want from the sexual experience. Maybe you would like, for example, to connect. Maybe you're not getting that. It's more about physical pleasure, right? So that's one of the things that you could explore and have the conversation with the partner and then working as a team to create those experiences. But the point here is that there's no partner that is right and the other one is wrong. Again, I would like to go back to the beginning of the workshop. We're all different. We all have different levels of sex drive. So there's no correct or incorrect thing. The point is, given that you have some needs and I have these other needs, how we're going to find a middle ground and how we're going to be able to satisfy our needs. And sometimes what I have noticed also is that people rely on their partners and it's like, oh, you're the one that is supposed to give me pleasure. No, our sexuality and sex life starts with ourselves. So you can get pleasure by your own. That's a possibility. Masturbation exists. And then you can share your sex life with your partner too. And that's like another level, right? But what I'm saying is that there's no right or wrong level of sex drive, and then you can find a middle ground. That's what I'm saying. But the other thing is to be able to also detect if you are satisfied in your sexual experiences with your partner, because maybe the other person wants more, you don't want that much because you're not getting what you want. And that's another conversation that needs to be had. Yeah. Let me know, please, by the chat if I'm being clear with my answer to the question. There was a person that asked that question. I would like to know if the person is getting the answer and if it's making sense. Let me know, please. Okay. Excellent. Awesome. Now, let's talk about healthy relationships and how to create healthy relationships. I always say that there are 3 skills that we need to have or develop in order to have healthy relationships: insight, mutuality, and then self-regulation. Okay? So what I like to do is to explain each of them. So when we're talking about insight, we're talking about understanding our values and the values of the other people. And sometimes anticipate when it's necessary. What do I mean with this? For example, I have a partner, and for this person, one of the values is punctuality, being punctual. And then I know that I'm going to be late and I'm delayed. So if that's the case, then I can manage the situation and have a conversation with my partner and tell, like, you know what, I'm not going to be on time, I'll be late, I'm so sorry, etc. And you manage the situation. Sometimes people don't have that capacity, and given that, they don't honor the values of the other person, or they don't value their own values. They don't honor their own values. So the first skill is to have that insight and that capacity to identify who I am and who's the other person, and then how to create the spaces in which values are respected. Okay? Then the second skill is mutuality, which is related to understanding that as humans, we all have needs. And there are no needs that are right or wrong. There might be people that want to have more sex, and there are others that would like to have less sex. Okay, 2 different types of needs, both matter. There's no one that is right or wrong. The approach here is that as a team, we should do something, and then collaborating what we're going to do. What I have seen is that some of the conflicts or breakdowns in relationships happen because one person considers that the needs of the other are not relevant, or the other person is wrong, when actually needs are needs. They're not right or wrong. They are related to our humanity, and we all have different needs. And then the third skill is self-regulation, which is related to understanding our reactions, our emotional reactions. And sometimes what we tend to do is to project onto our relationships some fears or some insecurities that actually are not related to our partners or to the other people. Maybe those stories have to do with our lives and our past. So for example, I don't know, maybe when I was a kid, I always felt that I needed to meet standards, and I was a perfectionist, okay? And it was hard for me to satisfy my father or my mother. I was always like trying to do things perfectly to satisfy that person. And maybe today in my relationship, I feel the same. And I'm trying to satisfy my partner, and I feel that it's impossible and I can't. But I'm the one that is projecting that. And maybe the other person is not requesting anything. Like the other person just liked me the way I am, but I'm projecting a reaction onto the other person. So it's important to be able to detect those blocks and also work on them. Because if we just neglect them or let them be, like, they are not going to change, and the emotions will emerge, and then will have an impact on our relationships. Okay? So, any questions? I would like to know. It seems we have no questions for now.
Keep going.
Okay. Donna says, can you say again the last two sentences? Donna, I don't know what I said, but I can repeat the main ideas if you want. Would that help if I make a summary of the three skills? Sometimes I talk and I don't know what I say, to be honest, but I can make a summary. Okay, perfect. So insight is related to being aware of your values and the values of your partner, right? And if you're not going to respect or honor those values, then being able to anticipate and let the other person know, and then manage situations. That's insight. Then mutuality is linked to understanding that we all have needs and our needs matter. There are no needs that are more important than others. And we're a team and we can find solutions with a common ground. And then self-regulation is basically being able to manage our emotions. Sometimes our partners or in our relationships, we can be triggered, but we're not triggered by the person. We're triggered because maybe we're projecting something from our past onto the other person. And it's a reaction that happens automatically. So we need to know ourselves, know our emotions, and manage our emotional blocks. That's the summary of the third skill. Let me know, Donna, if I'm being clear. Okay, good. And the last point or topic that I would like to cover today is to explore how our thoughts affect the way we relate to others, okay? So I would like you to imagine that you have a group of friends and then you go out with them and someone asks you if you would like to eat something at a restaurant, okay? And then you're going to say, no, I can't because I have surgery and I would not like to have anything because for today, I'm okay with my macros. That would be the answer that you would like to say. But I want you to imagine that what happens is that a thought emerges, which is, they will judge me if I say that. They will judge me. They are not going to understand me. And maybe I will feel that I don't belong if I don't do what they are doing. If those thoughts emerge, then it's likely that you're going to feel some emotions, such as, for example, fear of rejection, anxiety, stress, etc. And based on that or those emotions, you're going to hold back and maybe act in a way that will not be aligned to your goals. Maybe you're going to say, oh, yes, I'm going to have a little. Or maybe you're going to order something and eat, knowing that you shouldn't do that. Okay? So if you notice your thoughts will affect the way you feel, then that will affect your behaviors and you will interact with people and that will affect your relationships. And maybe in those relationships, you will feel that you can't be free, that you can be yourself, that you can set boundaries. And then when you meet again with those people in the future, then the same thoughts emerge. They will judge me. I will not fit in. I can't communicate my needs, etc. And then you will repeat this pattern. So why I'm sharing this example with you? Because in terms of the bariatric journey, it's important for you to set boundaries, to be authentic in your relationships, to share the needs that you have. And sometimes that doesn't happen because some beliefs emerge that haven't been managed, and then the beliefs take over. Beliefs such as, I'm not enough, they will judge me, I'm not important. And those beliefs might emerge some emotions, such as anxiety, loneliness, or fear. And then that will affect how you behave and affect your results. And then we have people, for example, which is something that I work with my clients, experiencing regain because they are not setting boundaries. They are not putting themselves first. They are not communicating their needs. So in order to have relationships that are healthy, it's important to connect with your needs and also communicate them in a way in which you're being authentic. And also you feel that you're in spaces in which you can be yourself and true to yourself and others can see who you are and honor it. Okay? That's what I wanted to share. So Brenda, I think we're getting close to the end of the workshop. I would like to maybe open the space for questions, if that's the case, or comments or anything. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Guys, post any kind of other questions you might have or anything. I feel like you've just been pretty thorough about things and it's people have been able to be vulnerable enough to share some. that
Yeah,
we're open to
totally.
getting more comments. Yeah, that's
And
great.
I would like to say thanks to all those people that were vulnerable and shared. I would like to say that. I really appreciate that actually, because given that you are vulnerable, we can all learn that we're humans, that we have fears, that things are not perfect, and there's work to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. Actually, we can talk about things not working in the way that we expect.
It looks like we have somebody with their hand up, but it is a phone number. So if that is you, if you have something you'd like to say, see if you can put it in the chat box. We'd love to know maybe what your question is.
We have
It's
a question
one,
in the chat actually,
oh,
which
okay.
says,
Go ahead, Rodolfo.
yeah, it says, do you see relationships end after surgery? So I don't like to necessarily use the word end. I would prefer to use the word transformed. And being transformed might look in different ways, which we'll consider end. But there are other relationships that not necessarily end, but they are redesigned. That's what I have seen a lot. Like people communicating their needs, people being able to connect in a new level, people being more authentic, setting boundaries, etc. So totally, there's a way, sorry, there's a redesign in terms of how we relate to others. And there's a question related to a proof of attendance of this session, to this session, Brenda.
Yeah, I can definitely answer that one. So if you are attending this to as in the on the live event, it doesn't apply to replays except for the Zoom replays, not the YouTube replays. But if you are attending in order to get attendance for your facility, um, if your facility has a connection with me where I send them, I usually send them a week after the event to the facilities. I have about 50 or 60 facilities that I do collect attendance for. So if your facility is one of those, I'll be sending them next week, probably on Thursday or Friday. If you're not sure if your facility has that connection with me, I'm going to type in the chat box my email. It's my last name, Hain, Hoehn, my first initial B at procarenow.com. And you can send me an email and I can check on that for you. So
Thanks.
hopefully that answered.
Yeah. There was another question, which was, is it a thing of not wanting sex at all after surgery? So again, sex drive is constantly changing. Now, if that's something that is affecting you, then you can ask for help. But if then you have a low sex drive, like I would just check what happens with time, right? And again, there's nothing like right or wrong in terms of how we are sexually. Yeah, that's what I would like to say.
I want to say too, Rodolfo, just to kind of add to that from a medical standpoint, I kind of think that it definitely changes like our hormone levels in some ways. And I guess that's one of the places that our hormones are stored on in is fat. And so sometimes women will get pregnant if they've not been able to get pregnant before. It's not just the weight. Um, and I've also heard of like females, a lot of times their periods will get changed, where that will be different. Um,
Yeah.
so I would say, it's also possible that there may be a medical piece that kind of like your physical body, the physiology, how your body is made, that also plays along with this. So you can definitely talk to your doctor about that. But I do feel like probably even more than that, because all of these things do regulate, I think they do have a huge place in our cells, that our thoughts, our emotions, our behaviors, all of those play such a huge part. It's all intertwined. So just wanted to add.
And again, there are no rules. I have seen clients that experience an increase of their libido, others like a decrease. So there are no rules here. No rules. Yeah. Brenda, can I share my information if someone would like to work with me?
Yes, absolutely. Because there is a question about another webinar coming soon. If you're looking for more webinars on intimacy, sex drive, that type of thing, Rodolfo is definitely your go-to person and he can give you his information. But I will also be sharing about more events under bariatrics. So a little bit of both. Yes, Rodolfo, please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So, as I told you, I designed a program on sex life. I also work with bariatric patients, supporting them in topics such as emotional eating, self-confidence, etc. So, if you would like to work with me, what I'm going to do is to share by the chat a link to schedule a consultation. Um, Actually, if you scan the QR code from the picture, you will be redirected to my calendar. And for me, consultations are the best way to check if we're a good fit for each other. So if you would like to work on your maybe emotional blocks, insecurities, maybe your lack of self-confidence, or you would like to redesign your sex life or the fears that you experience in your relationships, schedule a consultation. Let's work together. And then if it makes sense, I will share with you more details about my program. So I will share with you the link. And again, you have the QR code that you can scan that will take you to my calendar. And I would love to meet with you and check if I can help you. Yeah. And my Instagram account is there, which is Rodolfo Alvarez X. You can follow me, and I will be sharing next webinars and activities by there. So that's a good way that we can keep in touch.
Thank you, Rodolfo. This is very enlightening. It's something that, I mean, sometimes people are afraid to talk to their primary care or their bariatric surgeon about, but I can remember whenever I was a coordinator in a weight loss surgery program, having many patients have questions related to sex after surgery. So I do think that this topic is well needed, and I think for the community, especially in a safe setting like this, because nothing is shared outside of this, guys. And being able to be true to yourself, and because it is a part of our relationships.
Yeah. And I would like to make a point here related to privacy. Um, yeah. When you wrote comments by the chat, I try to be very careful in terms of like not sharing names or anything because I understand that this is something related to the intimacy. And I would like to highlight that what was shared here will stay here. And that's it. Meaning this is a safe space. And I would like to say thanks to Brenda and ProCare for creating this space actually, because sometimes people don't have access to this information and they don't have the opportunity to share about their sex life. They don't have. So thanks for creating this, Brenda.
Thank you, Rodolfo. I
Yeah.
appreciate that so much. Well, I am going to share too, Rodolfo. If you're finished with that, I'm going to
Yes.
share my screen and I'm going to
Please
click
go ahead.
onto, let's see here. First of all, I want to make sure I have the right thing pulled up before I do that. I'm going to pull up the ProCare Health website. So let me go to that first. I want to share you guys where you guys can find more resources. ProCareNow.com. If you're listening, just ProCareNow.com. And when you get to the website, you're going to be able to see a whole list of things that on the top of the screen, products, procedures that kind of goes through the different kinds of surgery, body and soul campaign, and Very Connected. Under Very Connected, if you click on that tab, on the first little tab there under that, it says Very Connected, and you'll go down, and this is where you can find more and more of our events for each month. Each month, we list any upcoming events. So this event in particular, sometimes it takes a second. It says scroll to explore events, but uh, there it goes. We have all of the events for this month listed on there. If you see something that's already happened, all you have to do is click on it and it will be on demand until the end of the month. So, for example, yesterday we had the Berry Girls. It's a mom and daughter who had bariatric surgery and experienced that together, and they told their story and how it's affected their life. It was very personal. I loved it. Really a lot of energy coming from that. So that is on replay, for example. And then we also have Rodolfo's here. If you want to come back, all you have to do is click the link one more time on demand, and you'll be able to listen to that again. Because sometimes these things take a little bit to sink in. Sometimes I'll have to go back and listen to things again and again, or maybe even just take notes. Whatever works for you. Everybody's learning styles are different. We also have a podcast called Very Connected, and you can click on any of these here at the bottom and click to get it on your favorite podcast station. I love listening on the go. We also have all of our replays are put on our YouTube channel. I'll click on that real quickly. And when you click on that, the YouTube channel is under, instead of Very Connected, it's just under ProCare Health Vitamins and Supplements. We have, it looks like 256 videos on there now. So lots of great information. Rodolfo last month talked about taming cravings, head hunger, and emotional eating. Wonderful talk. That is on there from last month. And then you can just kind of look through. We have lots of stuff. So feel free. There should be a subscribe button. If you click on the subscribe button, I'll copy our ProCare channel here in a second. I'll give you that. And I'll also click so that you can subscribe and you'll get notifications of when this event and others go live. I also just want to mention here recently, we just started a Facebook page. I'm back on my Very Connected page, a Facebook page and a Facebook group. Those are on Facebook and under Very Connected for the group and under Very Connect for the Facebook page. So please feel free to link onto that. I also want to mention, for those of you who aren't familiar with ProCare Health, I'm going to go back up here to the top of the page, just give them a shout out for being our wonderful sponsor and being willing to give us this time together. ProCare is known for being one of the most innovative, I'm going to say vitamin companies out there and supplement companies, and one of the lowest costs. That is probably one of the biggest reasons patients are drawn to it because it's very affordable. Like we follow the ASMBS guidelines, and you're going to know that you're getting good quality products in your multivitamin in your products. Also want to just mention under the ProCare Health, the banner, temperatures are rising. So one of our patients' very favorite products is calcium dark chocolate. Those are going to be very, very soon going out. We only have them during the cooler months. So starting probably in about 2 weeks or so, you're going to probably see them taken off our website, and it won't be until it is cool again till it comes up. I also want to just mention a very special promotion, and this is for you guys on the call. If you're on our email list, you may have gotten an email. Use code wellness15 at checkout to be able to get a discount. So we rarely ever do 15% off. Like we usually, most of the time, our offers are always 10%. So wellness 15, and I'll write that in the chat box here as well. Just want to share that. So that is good through 10 a.m. Central Standard Time tomorrow. So it's very limited, very short time, but just wanted to mention that for all of you on the call. If you're listening to the replay, unfortunately, it's probably going to be a little late for you on that, but we always have different promotions going on, so continue to check back with us. And I'm going to stop sharing. I'll type that code in the chat.
Yeah, and Brenda, someone was asking the website probably to get something. So
yes, I'm going to go ahead and type that in too, and I'll type in the YouTube channel as well. So the ProCare Health website is just procarenow.com. Paste that. If you're listening to the replay, the sites that I'm mentioning will be in our description. Let's see here. And then our YouTube channel. I'll copy and paste that too. Okay. Any closing thoughts, Rodolfo?
I would like to say thanks actually for this opportunity. I think that there are not that many spaces in which we can talk about sex life and sex this way. So thanks for that opportunity. And also remind people that if they need help, they can reach out to me, and I would love to meet and see how can I help. Yeah.
Yeah. And Rodolfo, you offer besides your discovery call, you also offer workshops and lots of other great things that people can connect with you too. In fact, he's doing, if you're in the Miami area, I don't know if you're that you were talking about it right before we got on the call, if that's open or if that's already closed, but I know you're doing an event in Miami this weekend.
Yeah, I do workshops on different topics. Actually, this weekend I will do one on communication, actually, that is related to relationships. So if you are in the area and you're interested in that, please reach out to me. Yeah.
Well, wonderful. Well, thank you again, everybody, and thank you, Rodolfo. All of you have a most wonderful evening, and we'll keep these coming. We'll keep these coming, and you'll be seeing Rodolfo back, I'm sure, at some point.
Excellent.
So,
Great.
yes, thank you all, and everybody have a wonderful evening.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.